Hi, Chris Cole here with Sweet Valley Hives. In this video, we're going to take a look at our hive box. I can tell you that each one of these videos we try to keep it moving and we try to keep it as short as possible. But there's a whole lot that went into this hive box. So I'm going to cover it as quickly as possible, but it's going to take a few minutes. I wanted to start by kind of giving you the evolution of how we arrived at the design you're about to see. This is our very first hive box that we made. It's made out of 3/4 inch plywood. I had it left over from a project, and the finish I put on the outside was mineral oil. That's right, mineral oil. I wanted something completely innocuous that would give me some protection. As you can see, it still kind of has that oily finish, so I guess it was a good choice. The top bars in this box were just your standard Warre top bars, 2.4, 1 centimeter thick, so a nice robust top bar, but they had no comb guides on them, and as you can imagine, I had cross comb everywhere. It was almost in circular heart shapes, it was everywhere. Now, the other thing is, when we put these top bars in, I had a little nail gun and I tacked them into place. Now, tagging them into place was okay, but there was no way to pull them out and then put them back on. Of course, with all that cross comb, it was kind of a moot point. But those little tacks, when we went to harvest it, we pulled them out, and sometimes the tacks stayed in the box, but sometimes they were hidden in the top bar, and it became a real pain, literally. And lastly, there was no window in this box. The only way we could tell what the bees were doing or what was going on is if my wife got down on all fours and looked up, and I lifted the box and she tried to take a peek underneath to see where the bees were. Not the best design in the world. So we came up with this design. And this design, what we did is we kind of cut what we call castellations into the cedar itself. We went from plywood to cedar. And we cut these castellations in to maintain the bee space. We also put a window in the back. The problem with this one was, while it maintained the bee space really well, when it came time to start prying up the top bars, these little teeth would break loose, either partially or wholly. Either way, it wasn't the ideal design for us. It wasn't optimum. So we had to do something else. Enter our generation, I guess we'll call it generation 3 box. Before I dive into the box, let me show you what we start with. This is the Western Red Cedar that we now start with. Not too attractive, but it's a nice thick piece of cedar. It's rough sawn, and a lot of times there's stains and there's drawing on it. But what we do is we run it through the planer, and this is what we come up with. We come up with this really smooth grain. It's a higher grade cedar. You're not going to find a lot of knots in our boxes. Knots are not good. Okay, when you have knots in the wood, they actually will conduct heat differently. A knot is more of a conductor than it is an insulator. Nice wood like this is an insulator. It's not going to allow the cold and the heat to permeate readily, whereas a knot will, creating hot and cold spots on your hive where the colony can interact with that on the inside of the hive box. So for starters, our hive box is made from a high-grade cedar with very few, if any, knots at all. It also has 15 stainless steel screws in the entire construct to put it all together. Every box we manufacture also has a window in the back. And the window cover, we bevel the edge of every window cover. When we first started putting windows into our hive boxes, we thought a nice razor-tight finish would be optimal, but it isn't. Even the slightest bit of moisture, what you're going to find is that wood is to some degree still alive. It still absorbs moisture, and so it's going to expand or contract depending. If you have a window, if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you're building your own Warre hives, do not make the window covers razor tight, because even in the slightest bit of moisture, the morning dew, you will not get that cover off. And God forbid if it's raining or has just rained, you won't get that door off. So every one of our boxes has a beveled edge, a round-overed edge, and it's a little bit loose fitting intentionally. It's not going to hurt the bees. It's not going to affect the temperature insulation in it, but it is a little bit loose fitting. And every one of our door covers is a full 1 inch thick, just like the rest of the hive box. So this box is made from full 1 inch thick cedar, and the door panel is a full 1 inch thick. You may not think that's relevant, but check out some other boxes out there where the door panel actually is less than the box itself. Speaking of the wood being able to move, expand and contract, one thing we found on one of those earlier boxes is that if you took the window and you put the window right up to the sides. You built the box. Let me show you what I mean here. We're going to take out the top bars. If you were to build your window so that it butted right up against the sides, in a high moisture area, that wood could expand or contract, allowing just enough space and separation between the window and the wall of the box to allow bees to come out. I'm not making this up. I'm speaking from experience. When you come up and you take off this back panel, if there's a separation between the window and the side of the box and those bees are here, they're going to come get you because they're going to see you as a threat. So what we've done here is we've taken our windows and we create a 5mm inset so that the windows themselves will now set inside the wood. So even if this wood expands, contracts a little bit, your windows are fully housed inside the walls of the hive box, which are, I'll say it again, a full 1 inch thick. One of the only hives out there that's making a full 1 inch thick Western Red Cedar hive box. The handles. Here's another set. The handles. We screw these handles in from the inside out. If you see a handle that is screwed from the outside in, or the head of the screw is your anchor. So what you're anchoring to is your more stable component, and then you screw into your unstable component. So if you're screwing from the outside in, you're actually using your handle as your anchor. That's not the best construct in our opinion and could make for some catastrophic failure with a 40-45 pound box full of honey and bees. So we screw ours from the inside out. So the heads of the screws are now countersunk on the inside of the box, and it pulls the handles in, making the strongest possible construct. One of the last, final, and most important features of our hive boxes are what we call our castellations. What we developed in our, I guess, second generation box where we cut the castellations in the cedar, we've now transferred that to a piece of hardwood. We've used southern yellow pine, we've used walnut, we've used maple. This one has what's called Brazilian cherry, or jatoba, I think is one of the other words for it. But it's an extraordinarily hard piece of wood that is cut with a 2.4 centimeter width here and 1.2 centimeter spacer to maintain the bee space that Warre described. Each one of your top bars will fit snugly into those spacers. So you maintain your bee space, and in such a way that when it comes time to either harvest or inspect, and you get your hive tool in there and you start digging, not only is the top bar robust enough to withstand that hive tool, but your spacers in here are not going to be affected as well. We've done, I don't want to say hundreds, but well over 100 of these hive boxes where we've been pulling out the top bars and putting, we've done ours, we've done customers, friends, where we've pried these things out and replaced them, and these little castellations hold up and they do stand the test of time. I believe that's it for our hive box. I tried to keep this as quick as possible, but please check us out at Sweet Valley Hives on Facebook or sweetvalleyhives.com on our website. I'm Chris Cole. Thanks for watching.